Hello, guys, and welcome to the first in-depth Sovereign Lands War doc. The first episode will be on the lemation Red Water Wars. Enjoy.
Redwater Syndicate, Rise and Fall. Chapter 1, The Beginnings. The Redwater Syndicate began as a pirate nation, living and dying by the seas, pirating, looting, stealing. It was their way of life. Yet they were not mindless terrorists burning the world down. No, this was a nation of free people who refused to bow to the so-called empirical powers of their neighbors. Fierce, wild, and ungovernable, they carved their own path in blood and saltwater. Chapter 2, The Peak. Over time, the ragged thugs of the Syndicate transformed into a terrifying force. No longer just outlaws, they became a storm sweeping across the seas and lands. They struck ports, cities, and trade routes like wolves among sheep. And with every sack and raid, their strength grew. What had begun as a brotherhood of desperate raiders had become an army. Yes, an army of pirates forged in fire and greed. This was the golden age of the Syndicate. Their ships ruled the waves. Their soldiers, hardened by endless raids, carved through anyone who stood in their way. The world whispered of them in fear, but nothing golden lasts forever. For all the plunder and power they gathered, they had also drawn the attention of something far greater, an enemy too large to ignore. Chapter 3, The Enemy Appears. As one man once said, nothing lasts forever. The Syndicate was no exception. For years, no nation dared step to them. But then came lemation. Lemation was not just powerful, they were the power. They had crushed rebellions, broken neighbors, and burned armies to ash. They were a war machine, and the Syndicate, in their arrogance, had revolted. The spark came when the pirates raided a lemation harbor, seizing ships and loot. To the Syndicate, it was just another victory. To lemation, it was an unforgivable insult. Rage boiled over. War was declared. The Syndicate called upon their ally, Dominion, under the Freehold Accord Agreement. Lemation, in turn, brought in their iron-fisted ally, Norfolk. The seas and the lands trembled as the War on the Red began. Chapter 4, The War to End the Pirates. The war began at sea, where the Syndicate was strongest, or so they believed. Their ships swarmed, cannon fire roaring across the waves. But the lemation fleet was built for war, not raiding. The battle was a massacre. Pirate ships splintered under broadsides, their decks slicked with blood. Entire masts went down in fire, and Syndicate crews screamed as they drowned beneath burning wreckage. Then came the tragedy of the warboat bombing. In desperation, the pirates loaded hundreds of civilians, families, women and children, onto a fleet of ships bound for safer shores. Lemation's fleet intercepted them. The cannons thundered mercilessly, shredding the fleeing vessels into floating coffins. Over 200 souls were butchered in the waves, their bodies washing up days later. It became one of the first war crimes of the new Sovereign Lands season, and it ignited a furious resistance among the Syndicate's people. But fury does not win wars. With the seas lost, Dominion could not send reinforcements. Lemation landed its forces on the Syndicate's homeland, only to be met with a savage defense. The pirates fought like cornered beasts, dragging the invaders into bloody ambushes, trenches and barricades. Street by street, hill by hill, the Syndicate clawed at their enemies. Civilians armed with knives and pitchforks struck at lemation soldiers in the night. Yet Norvom soon entered the war, breaking the Syndicate's sieges and bolstering lemation's advance. At one desperate stand, 13,000 Syndicate fighters faced off against a lemation Norvom force of 26,000 soldiers and 2 warships. Outnumbered 2 to 1, the Syndicate fought ferociously, encircling and mauling their enemy, holding out against impossible odds. The earth was soaked red, corpses piled in ditches, and the air thick with smoke and screams. But numbers and steel wore them down. After months of relentless fighting, the Redwater Syndicate was shattered. Their homeland was overrun, their fleets burned to embers. Chapter 5, The Aftermath. Defeat was total. The Syndicate's leader, Captain Baptized Rogue, was executed alongside his men. Their bodies hung as warnings along the harbours they once ruled. Yet even in ruin, resistance flared. A new leader arose, Captain Fox of Assat. A hard man, he rallied the remnants of the Syndicate in a desperate rebellion. But Lemation's fury was absolute. The uprising was crushed, and Versate was executed with his loyal fighters, their blood sealing the syndicate's fate. Lemation claimed not only new land and total dominance of the seas, but also something greater, a reputation. They became known as the nation you do not cross, the empire whose wrath no one survives. And so ended the golden age of the Redwater Syndicate, drowned in blood and fire, crushed beneath the unyielding heel of the Lemation Empire.
God,